This is Natasha Henstridge from Species and Ghost of Mars. I know you're really into scary movies, but take this advice. Don't go out there. Be afraid. Be very afraid.
In a world where zombies, ghosts, serial killers, and vampires all exist, it's Nico, Brian, Mike, and Dustin, and they are all that stand between you and the films that could end the world. Welcome to the Don't Go Out There Horror Movie Podcast.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Don't Go Out There Horror Movie Review Podcast. Just want to thank all our fans and listeners. Really appreciate the support. You guys are awesome. Before we get into tonight's film review, I just want to give a quick shout out to our website, don'tgoouthere.com. Everything about our podcast is on that website. You can find everything. We have all of our episodes and interviews if you want to listen there. And like Brian's mentioned in the past, we've got a lot of big interviews. If you want to go check them out on the website, it's a lot easier to find them there. And then if you scroll through like iTunes or Spotify to get to them. Absolutely. So I would definitely recommend that. We got a store. We got some new merch up. Shan's Etsy page is attached. Her tumblers are selling like hotcakes. Go check those out. And we also have like our blog. We've heard some think pieces and some thoughts. So go check those out as well. And we also have all of our social media links. We're on all of them, that all the big ones: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. Go follow us, like us, subscribe us, all that good stuff on there. We love our fans. We love interacting. I feel like we do a good job of always talking to our fans and interacting. So definitely check us out. Any feedback, positive or negative, helps us grow, become better. We welcome all of that. It's better than just getting a bad review on iTunes. But one thing, maybe I'm getting just a little butt hurt. I don't know. But, instead of just writing us a bad iTunes review, they tell us the feedback first. And then, let us work on it. But, that's just me talking. But anyway, let's get into our second entry into Sci-Fi Month. It's Brother Mike's pick. You want to announce your pick, brother?
Yeah, hey, by the way, great to be back with you guys. After my power situation and then missing a whole week last week, it's great to be back. Just wanted to say that. So really quick, before I give why I picked this movie, I want to make an announcement on this show. I haven't even told you guys. I am officially retiring. Call me sometime as of this evening. This is my last episode where I'll be featuring the phrase "call me sometime," and I decided to end it on Natalie Portman. Call me anytime. Okay, just thought I'd let you know this was the last time I'm using it. We're going to retire it. We're going to put it on the shelf. We're going to try to be a little more professional, but just so everyone knows, I'm thinking it. Damn it, I'm thinking it.
Hey, listen, our fans, our co-host, somebody's going to pick that up from you. The torch will be carried.
There we go. Okay, but also Natalie Portman, call me sometime. All right. I really want to stress that. I can't hit that home enough. All right. So listen, sci-fi is not my favorite genre of film. I've made that pretty clear. But there's a few interesting films in the genre for me. And when I think of sci-fi, obviously I'm very stereotypical in my analysis where I think, it's all trekking through space. It's Star Wars. It's Star Trek. It's whatever, Alien, which I like. But I all kind of lump it in the same genre. But then you really kind of expand the scope of what sci-fi is. And I think this movie really falls into that category. And it's recent. And I probably haven't picked anything new in a while. I know Antlers was new, but I was kind of shoehorned into picking Antlers because I've seen everything and I had to pick some I hadn't seen, so I had to just come with something on the spot. This was something I've seen one time before this show. And by the way, I picked 2018's Annihilation, in case you haven't realized that yet. Look, I saw this movie one time in a theater and it left me very, very just mind blown, but I wasn't sure what to make of what I just watched, because this movie is almost two movies. There's an hour chunk of the movie that's one movie, and then the last 30 minutes is a completely different movie to me. Very, very odd. One thing I like about this movie, I want to say, is you get you never feel at ease. You never feel comfortable the entire film. You're always like, what is happening? And there's this unrest that comes with every second that passes, where you're kept in the dark the entire movie, and it's crazy to me that it can keep me the whole movie. Now, I know there's a lot of complaints. This movie's 2 hours long. I'm not sure it needs to be 2 hours long, but I do feel like the acting in this movie is good. There's some CGI that wasn't good. There's some CGI that really wasn't good, but there's some really good CGI too. One final positive I want to say is this movie is visually stunning.
Yes.
It is beautiful to the eye for a lot of reasons, and it is gruesome to the eye for a lot of reasons. And I think that's this movie's strength. This is obviously a book first. I've never read the book. I'm not going to pretend I have, but the source material is there. It's a little bit different than the movie played out. I think maybe even a little bit darker than the movie, which is wild to me because this movie ends on a pretty grim note, which we're going to discuss. But I feel all in all, this movie keeps my interest. And I know we have some co-hosts that weren't a big fan, or they're right in the middle. And I'm going to go right off the top of the show and say, I like this movie. It's very interesting. It's different. It's unique. And I know the big question within our space, gentlemen, is this movie horror? I absolutely think this movie falls into the category of horror. It's existential dread the entire time you're watching it. That bear scene is horror on itself alone, which I know we're going to get into.
Oh, yeah.
So I completely think it's horror, and I'm excited to talk about it because there's some really good performances in this film. So very excited to talk about it.
You didn't touch on it, but you kind of did touch on it. There's been a lot of comparisons, and I'm not just talking about fan of the show, Sean, but there's been a lot of people online compare this to Color Out of Space, and I can get it to an extent.
The visuals,
maybe a little bit of the visuals, but to me, like this, I mean, that's I don't know, discount version of this movie. I mean, this movie has
absolutely
an amazing cast. This movie has all the stuff that we'll get into, but I just right off the bat, I wanted to say I don't think that that's even close. Besides, like a little bit of a plot kind of being the same thing and it being based on a book.
Would you say this movie is more like The Thing than it is Color Out of Space in a way? It's like a weird take on what the plot of The Thing is. Like a little bit.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. I mean, I think a little bit to an extent. Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, Nico. Go ahead, man.
No, you're good. To quote comedian Anthony Jeselnik, everything Brian just said, I disagree with. I'm just kidding. I did kind of feel like it was like Color Out of Space. Just being honest, something crashes into the earth. There's a lot of pretty visuals, some weird shits going on. Seemed like Color Out of Space to me. But honestly, I agree with you, Mike. Acting is great for the most part. I do think Jennifer Jason Leigh is flat, super flat throughout the movie.
Yeah. I think she's supposed to be, though.
Yeah, I think she's supposed to be.
But there's difference between flat and interesting and flat and flat.
Right.
And she was
That's
flat
fair.
and flat to me.
It's fair.
I get it.
But I like her. I mean, I really like her actor. I like her a lot in Dolores Claiborne. I think she's great in that, but she just didn't do it for me in this one. I got to quote my man Mike from how I feel about this movie. The biggest sin for a movie is it's boring. And this one is just kind of boring to me. It just doesn't hold my attention. And even like the super intense scenes, like I will say I like the bear scene. I will give that one credit, but like the alligator scene really just doesn't do nothing for me. There's a lot of what's going on kind of. And there's a fun fact I got. I don't know if anybody else has it. That's the only one I have, but I think it's the guy from like the production company said the movie is too smart. And they wanted to make the character, just from like there's too much actual science going on. There's too much actual stuff like that. Just I kind of agree with that. It's just
I've heard that complaint. I've heard that complaint.
I don't know. It's just I'm not trying to learn like what cells do and all that during a movie. I just want to be entertained. And then I really didn't love it, but I respect what it is, and I'll say I agree with Chris Stuckman as well. And one last thing, I wrote it in my ending, but I really feel like the whole affair thing wasn't really needed. I mean,
I agree with that. It's not a plot.
I mean, that's not like a huge like negative, but I really felt like that was kind of pointless. But sorry, Mike, not a big fan. But I mean, it wasn't the worst movie we've ever watched, but I didn't love it. Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah. So I mean, on the flip side, And since Dustin's not here, I'm the only one on the show right now that will admittedly say, if you haven't listened to the show, that I love sci-fi movies. So it's not hard to reel me into a sci-fi horror movie, obviously. Hell, I picked the theme month. This one, though, okay, first off, like on paper, this movie looks phenomenal, which is why I really wanted to see it in the first place. You have Natalie Portman, Oscar Isaac, Tessa Thompson. It's made by the same person that wrote Ex Machina, Alex Garland. Hell yes, sign my ass up. It had everything to be successful. And I'll just be blunt. I feel like the ending blew the whole movie for me. The payoff or lack thereof. I know that I'm in the minority with this one, but I don't mind a slow burn. Look at Alien 1. Nico said many times it's public knowledge. I think, he's boring as hell. Like, I get it. It's a slow burn, but it has a great payoff, which makes it a great movie. This one to me had my attention the entire movie. I was waiting for that payoff. I was honestly sucked into this world, and then was so disappointed with the end that it almost ruined the whole movie for me. Like I said, I don't mind a slow burn even on a rewatch when I know at that point how it ends, obviously. But now, I have no desire to ever rewatch the movie again. I didn't hate the movie. I'm not going to rate it a 3 or anything. And I'll say this. I don't know the budget. That's Money Mike's Avenue. But it looks expensive as fuck. Like, it looks phenomenal. It's a beautiful movie, like Mike said. I just felt like maybe they tried too hard in the end. And Nico touched on that. Like, maybe you tried too hard to be quote unquote smart. Was it really? I don't know. I'll get into touch on that a little bit at the end, but I don't know if that's the right phrasing. Hell, we got a 2-star review because someone didn't like one of us saying a movie was quote 280s. So I don't know. Hopefully that was at least a 2.5-star summary right there. But basically, like every girl I've ever dated, you had me, then you lost me.
I'm telling your wife you said that. I know she doesn't listen. So anyway, no,
every girl I've ever dated except my wife. My bad.
Oh yeah. Okay. Good save. No, so really quick. Hey, this is one of those movies where I'm not gonna be so staunch that I'm like, you guys are wrong. You're crazy. I completely understand why if someone turned on this film, maybe they couldn't even finish it. I've seen that a lot too. I get it. And I understand it. It is complicated. Even I'm, after watching it 3 times now, am still a little confused as to the overarching point and narrative. So I think it is working against itself in that sense. And look, we're going to get to the ending, but it is a very confusing, very almost confusing on purpose, which is not a good twist. And I know twist isn't the right word, but it's almost confusing on purpose. And I don't think that's a good thing for a film to do. Take Shutter Island, for example. It has a twist ending, and it's a little confusing at first, but when you sit and think about it, it's not confusing at all. It makes total sense. This, you have to, if I have to look up a YouTube video explaining what happened in your movie after watching it 3 times, that's a negative. That's a negative. I'm going to try to explain it on this show. I think there's environmental stuff going on here. There's some commentary on the environment and it's ever changing.
Cancer.
And cancer. And there's some overarching themes throughout the film, but what it's actually trying to say, I'm still not quite sure, which is why it still interests me. It's something I want to dive deeper into. It makes me want to read the book. I know I never will, but I'm still going to say that I want to. But yeah, I completely agree with all the negative feedback. But when something just works for you, it does. I don't even have a great defense for why I enjoy the film as much as I do. I do think, Brian, I'm kind of like you. The first hour, I'm like, all right, this is good. Got a good story, good visuals, good acting. I'm in. Last 30 minutes, we kind of, we do a little Jim in American Pie. Sorry, I said I clean up my act, but I can't help it.
Well, hey, both of you guys brought up the book. I've never read the book either, but apparently director Alex Garland didn't either, because apparently he decided not to read the book and instead just adapt it, quote, like a dream of the book. So just putting that out there too.
Well, then I don't feel so bad. But there's somebody listening goes, we could tell you didn't read the book, you bunch of dumbasses. So that's what's going on.
We lost them a long time ago.
Also, I'll save the budget for the end, the actual numbers, but I don't think it's any shock that this movie lost money.
No.
And we have not had a money loser in a long time. I don't know the episode, but it's been a very long time since we had a movie that did not make at least its budget back. Even Jason Takes Manhattan did that shit. What's wrong with you people?
Even though I said, the movie, kind of bored me a little bit, like, I agree. Like, I was, like, the first time I watched it, I went into it open-minded, I was intrigued, and then it just, I don't know when, but it just, like, lost me. Like, I don't know, like, I was trying to care more than I did, but it just lost me. And honestly, after watching the first two picks for Sci-Fi Month and my pick next week, I haven't seen Dustin's pick yet. I kind of feel like all of these sci-fi movies are you're either in or you're out on them.
I feel
like there's going to be some strong opinions because you either love Starship Troopers or you don't like it, or
exactly.
You either like Annihilation or you don't.
I got some strong thoughts
Dark
about
will be that way too.
I got some strong thoughts about Nico's pick, but I'll save it.
But all right, let's jump into the scene by scene. The film starts with Lena being interrogated by Lomax and others in hazmat suits. She's asked what she ate, how long was she inside, what happened to Josie and some of the other women. There's a lot of dialogue in this movie too, so I did my best. She says they're dead or she doesn't know. What do you know? He asks her. We now see a meteor flying through space and it crashing into Earth through a lighthouse. Then we get a title card. We now see cells dividing. Lena gives a lecture on how cells work and their origin. The cells we're looking at is from a tumor, and she says they'll be studying cancer cells. Lena is walking out and stopped by Dan. He says he's been looking for her but can't find her. He's inviting her to a garden party, but she says she has plans to paint her bedroom. He says it's been a year. You're not betraying his memory going to a barbecue. She walks away. We're at Lena's now, and the camera pans through the house, and we see pictures of her and her husband from the military. She has flashbacks of them being playful in bed, and she begins to cry. She looks at his picture in her locket. She now begins to paint the room. We now see a man walking to the house and upstairs. Lena is in shock and gives him a big hug and cries. I thought you were gone as she kisses his lips. He doesn't say much. They're downstairs now talking in the kitchen. She asks him questions on the mission and he's being real short with her. He says it was covert, but he's not sure where he was at. She asks about the weather and the languages they spoke. How long you been back? How'd you get back? She sits at the table and holds his hand. Kane takes a sip of water and there's blood in the cup. I don't feel well, he says, and we now see him being rushed in an ambulance. He's having a seizure and coughing up blood. 3 police SUVs block off the ambulance and snatch Kane's stretcher out of the back. They force Lena and the EMT out and drug her and sedate her. Area X. Lena wakes up coughing. Dr. Ventress walks in and tells her she feels bad from the sedatives that she was given. She gives Lena some water and says she's a psychologist. She asks where's her husband. She asks to see a lawyer, but they get shot down immediately. She asks Lena more about the mission and asks why she stopped making contact 6 months ago. It's not easy to move on. She tells Lena Kane's here and he's having massive organ failure and internal bleeding. She asks to see him because she can help. Lena is outside and sees this wall of light. Ventress tells her they have many theories on it, but no facts. She calls it the shimmer. It began 3 years ago. Several teams have gone in, but none come out. They force evacuated the people, saying it was a chemical spill. She says the shimmer will keep spreading to eventually take the world over. Kane is the only one to come back out the shimmer. Lena wants to go be with Kane, not go home. Flashback to Lena and Kane in bed talking about his next mission. They talk about God and about aging. He kisses her and she says she knows something is strange about this mission because of how silent it is. They talk more and laugh and tickle each other. He gets on top of her and says, screw you, and she says, okay, and they kiss passionately. Lena is outside and Anya walks up to her and introduces herself. She invites her over to meet the crew. She meets Cassie and Josie now. Lena joins them at the table and she's given a beer. They introduce themselves and tell her what their jobs are. Cassie is a geomorphologist, Anya is a paramedic, and Josie is a physicist. Josie won the bet on guessing Lena's profession. Cassie says they're heading into the shimmer in 6 days. Ventress is going with them. All women scientists. Lena asks what happened to the military crews. 2 theories. They're killed by something in there, or they go crazy and kill each other. That's the opening set of scenes I got, Brian. Go ahead, brother.
Yeah. Okay. So first of all, I kind of wish that we wouldn't have started out with showing the alien crashing into the lighthouse. I think personally, I would have rather that stayed almost ambiguous. You know, kind of like I said with the opening of Predator, if I remember correctly. Like, let us wonder what the fuck this is, and kind of find out organically, maybe that it's alien. That just kind of boom gives you that right off the bat. Good effects though. I will say that I think Garland, I think, does a really great job with giving you a lot of backstory without dialogue. Like, I paused the movie at this point and looked, and we are like with the credits 5 minutes into it, and just from the music cue, an awkward conversation with Dan we get, you're like, okay, there's some history there with those two. You know, there's romantic history somewhere, and oh, and let me just say the soundtrack, especially here playing Helplessly Hoping by the Crosby, Stills, Nash. What a fucking amazing choice there for that entire montage. That sucked me in immediately. Again, it's showing and giving so much emotion here and so much information without dialogue. Like as Kane shows up, Natalie Portman's acting, she's elite in this. Like her crying, her excitement when Kane shows up, you see it all on her face the first time that she sees him. Seriously, to me, like she's phenomenal and shows her acting chops big time here. Not that she hasn't in a ton of other movies. I mean, she's really great. You know, a ton. There's a ton happening in this group, and to me, it's all interesting right now. I'm already sucked in. Like like I said earlier, I'm like, what the hell's going on? Yes. Okay. So I know we talked a little bit about Jennifer Jason Leigh at the beginning. I kind of mentioned her, but not really. I've always been a fan of hers since Fast Times. Road to Perdition was the last thing I think I've seen her in. It's been a long time since I've seen her in anything. But bottom line, and we talked about it, this cast is just stellar, like we said in the open. And yes, I agree with you, Nico. I think Leigh's delivery, especially in this interrogation scene with Portman, well, I mean, shit, it's really the whole entire movie. She's cold, straight to the point, no bullshit. But I think that is a good choice to have it played that way because it's opposite of very emotional Portman, especially in their scenes. So I think that having that yin and yang, I thought was a really good choice. Just my personal opinion. Now, the only complaint I have about the character development is that they developed the shit out of Lena, Kane, even Ventress to an extent. But I think that they missed an opportunity really with Anya, Josie, and is it Katie? Katie, I think. Kate. Anyway,
Cassie,
just the Cassie. I'm sorry, Cassie. Just the girls of this team. You know, I think you maybe shown less of wonder and amazement and CG later on, and given them some flashbacks to their own, like made us spend a little time with them as well in their lives, and let's give a little bit more shit about them because these actresses are amazing, and I just kind of feel like it's a missed opportunity.
Yeah. So again, this movie kind of grips you from the beginning. I do agree with you. I could have gone without showing exactly what happens at the lighthouse. It is, if you really want to make a comparison to Color Out of Space, to me, it ends there. I don't think anything else is similar from a plot standpoint, from an acting standpoint, from visuals. Like, I just think it's all very different. But I understand where it comes from. But anyway, you jump right in, you see Natalie Portman, who I think is just really good in this interrogation scene, for lack of a better word. She's still kind of hazy, still kind of confused, but still has her mind together. But as a first time viewer, you don't quite know what's going on, which I think is the theme of the film, which around every corner, you don't understand what's going on. And I don't think that plays bad in this movie. Obviously, you see something with her and Dan. You kind of discover she's an academic, and that small complaint here, not a big one, but a small minor complaint. Throughout the film, they do a lot of jumping back and forth without any kind of indicator that they're doing so. I think in the early sets of scenes, they do it a little bit more than they do later on, obviously. But I think there's some time jumps that kind of confuse you a little bit. And so I think that's just a minor nitpick. It's a minor nitpick. It's not anything that takes me out of the film. you get this interaction with Dan. There's obviously something there. We don't quite know, but what we do find out before even meeting Kane, which, by the way, every time I hear somebody named Kane in film or anything else, I think of Vince McMahon in 1997. That's gotta be Kane. God damn it, that's gotta be Kane. Oh, sorry. Hell in a Cell, 1997. Anyway, or Paul Bear, poor little Kane. All right. Anyway, so, but before we even know who Kane is, before we even meet Kane, we have an idea of her sadness, her melancholy, like what that is about. What I like about the character, though, and I'm kind of jumping ahead here, is she's not so distraught that it makes her not a strong character. She is strong. She's independent. She's not relying on anything else. I think she's a little bit of a badass, just even in this opening set of scenes, because she kind of is like, yeah, he's gone, and then he comes back, and then he comes, but she doesn't like dwell on it in a sad way. She dwells on it in, okay, what the fuck is happening here way. She's an ex-military person. She's a doctor of science. Like, she's got her shit together. I really love her character, Lena. Like, I think it's an awesome character. I think it's really well portrayed. You get Ventress, who I'm going to go a little bit away from Nico. I like the character being dry because, like Brian mentioned, it's the polar opposite of Lena as far as that emotion that she wears. She's so cold and calculated, and we don't know until later why that is, why she's so emotionless. But when you watch upon a rewatch, you kind of completely understand why she is the way she is. Her illness is there, and we don't know that as a viewer the first time. But I think on a rewatch, I think it makes that character significantly more interesting. So I completely understand the boring criticism of her being so dry. But I think knowing what we know now, I think it makes the character interesting. I love their scene, their banter back and forth. I think it's really good. All the stuff with Kane, there's obviously something wrong. Again, just another one of those things you don't quite know, but something feels off. And that's what I really love about this opening set of scenes. There's nothing that feels right. Not the entire, from the very opening shot until the end of this set of scenes, nothing feels easy. You feel blah, like, I don't know, like you feel confused. You don't know what to feel. And I really like what that movie or what the movie does with that. Like, I think it's a really good way to do it. And I agree with you, Brian. I wish we had gotten a little bit more of Josie, Cass, Anya, like all that. Like, I really would have liked to get to know the women a little bit more. Because, by the way, not for anything, but what a badass group of, like, this movie's led by 5 women. Let's harp on that. Let's kind of, pipe that up a little bit, man. I think that's really cool. All the other groups that have been sent in that we've seen, now we don't know, but we've seen, from what we've seen, they've all been groups of men. And here's the groups of women that are going in, the one group of women that are going in, and, they're all scientists of some kind. They have a plan. They're for the most part sticking to that plan. Doesn't always work out that the way they want, but I really like the group that we're about to get here. But I agree with you. You after this opening set where they're all sitting around having a beer, you don't really get much else. But I really like the set of scenes. I think it pulls me in right away. It's very interesting, and I just like that I don't ever feel good. Like, I know that's not always the movie experience I want. When I watch Thanksgiving, I don't feel good either, but it's for a different reason. It's because this movie fucking sucks. But when you watch this movie, you're just kind of like, man, something doesn't feel right. And I'm going to save it for later, but there's the phenomena of uncanny valley. And I'm not going to explain that yet, but humans, it's in their DNA to have it. And I think it's, I must have a funny face because Nico just took a screenshot of me. Son of a bitch. I'm throwing it back to you, Nico. Fuck you.
Sorry, brother.
No, I'm just
had
kidding.
to do it.
I do like the set of scenes, though.
Y'all talking this movie. I don't think any of us mentioned it yet, but I'm sure y'all felt the same way. But this movie reminded me a lot of The Descent as well, where, with the female leads. But it's just the movie just doesn't have the Sarah and Juno like I'm interested in.
Right,
like
that's fair.
Like that relationship, you are like locked into them the whole time. And the supporting women, they're all interesting too. Like Like you
Yeah.
see them having fun at the house, and then they're like having fun going into the cave. I don't know. I feel like they just rushed it. Them going into they meet, then they jump right into the shimmer.
I will say that this movie is 2 hours long, and I think it rushes the story of them going into the shimmer. And that's something I have in my notes. I think they rushed that whole thing. There's no time to let that breathe. And like Brian said, we don't meet any of these women outside of a brief interaction while having a beer. And so I don't think that's a good point. It's a negative I have too. I would have liked to get to know the whole cast more. And I know that's not the point of the film, but damn, you have a 2 hour script. Fit some other shit in there instead of white deer with cherry blossom antlers.
There you go.
Yeah. I mean, the other women to me in this movie are just a psychologist and scientist. They're like, there's no relationship. There's not just nothing that makes me really care about them and
All right.
feels and make me want to care about them. But we'll get into the scene. We'll touch on this more throughout.
Hey, by the way, I wasn't meaning to shit on the white deer with cherry blossom antlers. It's a really cool visual. Just throw that out there.
Yeah, no, it was cool. Back to Kane, and Lena sneaks inside of his isolation tent. She sits on the bed with him and calls his name. I know why you went in. I am so sorry. I know what I have to do. Ventress asks why she didn't tell them her connection to Kane. Lena asks her why she's going in. Enter, acquire data, and return. Ventress says she's been watching it for a while now and profiles and picks the teams. She watches it grow closer to her. Ventress calls her a soldier scientist. You can fight and you can learn and you can save him. Lomax asks her about requesting to join the mission and saying it was a brave choice. Lena says she owed him, so I went in. We see the 5 women entering the shimmer now. Then on the screen, the text says, the shimmer. We now see Lena on top of Daniel having sex in a quick flashback. Pointless, in my opinion, but back to the shimmer, we see Lena waking up in her tent. She exits and joins the others, and they say, you finally woke up, as they look through their food supply. They don't remember anything like setting up camp. They say they've been out here at least 3 or 4 days, judging by their food supply. All the tools that send signal out of the shimmer aren't working. No comps are working. Cassie kicks it old school and finds south from the placement of the sun on her watch. Venture says, let's pack up and get moving to make up time. They hike the woods and make it to an old house on the bayou. They find John boats, and Lena notices how strange all the flowers are, even though they're the same species. They seem stuck in continuous mutation. Josie walks in the house to check it out. She comes back to the front door. She's telling what she saw, but then she snatched back inside the house. They run in after her and see her being dragged under the water by her backpack. They get her out the water and walk back to land. We see a giant alligator dive into the water and swim towards them. It emerges to land and charges them. They open fire on it, finally killing it after several shots. They open its mouth up, and Lena notices the teeth are exactly like the flowers. More mutations. Lena tells Lomax the mutations were subtle at first, but worsened as they grew closer to the lighthouse. She says it was dreamlike, but not hallucinations. The women are in the John boats, and Lena notices a bruise on her arm. Cass asks where she learned to shoot like that. She tells her husband was KIA in the army. Cass says we're all damaged here. She names off the other women's struggles in life and says she lost her daughter to leukemia. Anya says we got something here. They march into Fort Amaya, used to be headquarters for the Southern Reach. They go inside the mess hall and see beds and ask if anyone might be here. They take off their bags and look around. Lena finds evidence that her husband Kane was here. She shows the others, and they see drawings on a chalkboard. Lena says we need to guard the perimeter like they did. Ventures finds a note with a memory card in it. They play it back, and we see Kane cutting a fellow soldier's stomach open in a square shape. We see his intestines moving as if something is inside them. Anya says they went insane and blames it on a trick of the light. They all begin to argue and split up. The women find Ventress at the bottom of a pool where they see a human corpse and other plants growing off of it attached to the pool wall. Lena collects samples as Josie says she doesn't want to stay here. All right, Brian's the next set of scenes I got. What'd you think?
Well, all right. So right off the bat, just some things I didn't get. Like Lena rubbing Kane's chest before the girls go in and saying she understands why he went in. I mean, other than orders, why? I mean, that never gets fucking paid off, does it? I mean, like there's a little bitty line later on about maybe he might, who knows, know about that affair, but it's never said whether he does or doesn't. I mean, that would have just been, it would have been really easy at the very end when he's telling the camera he loves her, and if you see her, tell her you love her. Like just throw that in there. Just be like, I forgive her, just something to let him know. Oh yeah,
I
he
definitely
knows
think that's it,
why he
though.
went in.
I definitely think
I don't.
right.
I mean, I don't know. I think it may be for interpretation. Either
Yeah,
way,
yeah.
I didn't really care for it, but it took me a couple of times to even watch it before I was like, what the fuck? Also, I mean, why does Lena think that telling the other scientists that Kane was or is at this point her husband? Like, Ventress asked the same question I did. Like, what would it complicate? To me, it just seems like one of those plot points where you hope that'll come up later and be important. But to me, it was forced. I mean, I don't see how it would have ever been an issue or caused any issues down the road. Even like, I don't know. I didn't like that either. Now, again, no wonder they use so many of these shots with the 5 women approaching the shimmer for so many promotional material, because they were beautiful. I mean, they were phenomenal. Just shout out to Rob Hardy, the director of photography. He also did Mission Impossible Fallout and Ex Machina. Also, Gareth Cousins, the art director. I mean, we reviewed 28 Weeks Later, which was his. Don'tGoOutThere.com. And honestly, just the entire, I mean, I'm sure hundreds of people that worked on the CG and visual effects. Again, I can't say it enough. This movie is beautiful. But okay, so the other thing I've been trying to figure out, these flashbacks of Lena's affair with Dan, was this affair during the past year while Kane has been gone, or was this going on while he was still at home before he left? Like there's one line about, like I said, where you think he knows later, I think is the only reason why I thought, okay, well, maybe this is before he did leave. I don't know. I think upon this most recent rewatch, I kind of pieced the timeline together some. It kind of appears that it was like both when he left and she cut it off. By the way, she cut it off. Fucked him again though, right before she had to cut it off. But yeah, cut it off. I didn't feel like that was really fleshed out enough, pun intended. But I will say that they did a good job of showing the guilt that she's struggling from with it. She's very unlikable because of the subplot here. But I think and maybe I'm wrong, but I thought I read that they changed it to make Lena more likable because of this whole affair thing. Like I like changed some of the script. I don't know. Maybe I read that. Don't quote me on that. I did love the Croc hybrid attack. I just wish it would have killed somebody. Like so that kind of brings me to my next point. The explanation of this movie, and I know that this gives away the ending, but I kind of feel like it makes sense here. So from what I understand, the alien life form itself is not aggressive. First off, is the shimmer the alien life form as well, or is it just the thing at the end? I don't know. Assuming the shimmer is the alien life form too, it's not aggressive, and all the organic life forms, which aren't aggressive, plants, peaceful people, all apparently become symbiotic and are assimilated. On the other side, the aggressive and self-destructing people are annihilated. Like, but what does annihilated mean though? Because like, couldn't this croc shark thing have killed every one of them right here, even the non-aggressive ones? I mean, Josie wasn't doing shit when she was attacked. I guess there's a lot of this that I don't understand. And maybe, I mean, I'm sure some of our listeners are screaming at their radios right now at me, and this movie doesn't make sense in a vacuum. And like we said before, like Dustin even said last week, we shouldn't have to, and you said it earlier, we shouldn't have to go off and do more research on a movie for stuff to make sense. I mean, that's just me. But again, maybe I'm dumb. I felt like that there was a lot of plot holes in this that weren't maybe in the book series. I don't know. Knife stomach cutting scene though was tense as fuck. Great use of soundtrack there, and then the effects were definitely on point. Beautiful. I'll shut up now. Go ahead.
Yeah, this set of scenes, which you said without saying, has a lot of pros and cons. Like there's a lot here to kind of dive into. I think the this set of scenes is kind of hearken to the shot of all of them walking into the shimmer. You mentioned it. It's beautiful. It's stunning. Visually, it's cool as shit. I love how they just kind of stop and look at it, and only Ventress keeps going. I'm like, man, you're here. You might as well go in. I mean, you're going anyway, so you might as well just dive right in. But no, it's a beautiful shot of just the scope of the shimmer compared to these 5 women. I think is a really, really good shot. And I love the way the shimmer looks. It almost looks like, like how the liquid that you blow bubbles with. when you're a kid. It has that like multicolored rainbow thing going on, but it looks like bubbles. It kind of has that look to it, but like a lot thicker, like a goo.
There you go.
So a really cool alien, like, look, I don't mean alien as in extraterrestrial, but something you've never seen before. And it kind of creeps me out. It's like, this does not look, now I know I compared it to Bubbles, but it really doesn't look like anything else that I've seen in horror. And I think it's really cool. So look, you finally do start to get some kind of character narrative here with the 5 women. You kind of learn their personalities a little bit, but I still think it's a complaint because I feel like this would be a really good time to get to know all of their backstories just a smidge more. And I feel like all we really get is the interaction between them. Look, all this affair stuff, and I know, we've kind of touched on it. I'm not in favor of it. I think it's to make her character a little more shades of gray, that people aren't perfect, even our heroes. I mean, I'll just be honest, full peek behind the curtain here. I'm not the movie Titanic, although I do like it. I'm a historian fan of the Titanic story, and even the heroes, quote unquote, in that, tragedy were shades of gray. All the ones that you thought stayed on the boat to kind of be heroic, they were scared for their life. A lot of them had no choice. It's not necessarily a hero's journey in that. There's a lot of shades of gray. So I think we get that with Lena here. She's not perfect. I think it is in the year that Kane is gone, or if it's not, well, I think a lot of the scene we see is. Now, clearly, she hints at the fact that he's found out about it. And I wish they would have hit that home more. They don't really give a reason behind the affair, the lack of intimacy or anything like that. It just sort of happens. So I do think it is a useless plot. But I do think it's in there to kind of create this shades of gray with who we're pulling for. And again, I still am pulling for her because we don't know the whole story. We really don't know what the deal is with her and Kane. So I'm with you guys. I'm not a big fan of that plot line. I would be okay with it had they fleshed it out just a smidge more. This set of scenes' biggest pros, though, are the visuals. There is just some really cool shit in here, man. Even the scene where they walk up in the very beginning and it's just like a rail of flowers. Man, it's just a cool visual. She says it looks like someone's about to get married. Yes, it does. And it's really out there and really cool. It's not something I expected to see when you walk into this scary, ominous thing as all these fucking flowers. I think it's really, really cool. It messes with you mentally a little bit because you're not expecting it. The croc scene, they don't really explain what it's kind of refracted off of. I guess the shark is implied. I really like that scene, though. The only thing I don't like about it is that's not a good CGI alligator or crocodile, man. It's bad. It's really, really like it's not. It takes it out for me just a smidge. I noticed it now. Obviously, if you're not looking for it, you're probably not going to notice. But honestly, the damn crocodile or the alligator in Lake Placid looks better than that CGI croc does to me. So that's kind of saying, that's kind of where I'm at with that. But I still think it's a good scene. It's a very tense scene. Then you get to the camp, and I love everything about this scene. The only thing I don't like, obviously, is something Brian touched on, which is what's the harm in letting everyone know that Kane, your husband, was here? Like, that's not really something they go into. I know she's trying to like kind of hide that, and I just don't think it's ever explained to the audience why. Maybe it's some kind of grief she's dealing with, doesn't quite know how to process it, and okay, but again, explain that to us a little bit. Hell, you have an hour and 55 minutes. You could find a little way to kind of explain that away. They never do. Outside of that, I fucking love this scene. I think it's great. You see the video, you see, Kane cutting the guy open, you see his insides move. That explains what exactly is going on when you enter the shimmer a little bit more, so we have an idea of what's happening to the people while they're in there. I love that scene. It's tense, it's scary. And the scene with the human remain on the wall, and this is my last thing. It's disgusting. It's a cool looking visual. It's something straight out of The Thing or straight out of a John Carpenter film. I love that like morphing of different. Again, very alien, not in the UFO sense, but just very. You don't see frogs and plants and humans kind of morph together in this weird web. It looks very weird, and it's interesting. It's not necessarily like this, like, oh wow, that's so pretty, but man, is it cool as shit to see all those things morph together. So a lot of pros, a lot of cons. Nico, like he said, I have this right here in my notes. Right here at this point. Damn, this movie has a lot of dialogue. It's a lot of dialogue, man. They talk more than I talk, and that's saying something.
I'm about to say something y'all probably will never believe, but I kind of wish they would have had more found footage in this. Like what happened to the military groups?
I quit. No, I quit. Fuck this.
Oh my Jesus Christ! What's going on right now? Me? What is happening?
Hold on, let me back away from the mic. Hold on, I'm backing away from the mic because iTunes said I talk way too loud in the mic. Are you fucking kidding me?
I thought the scene with Kane and the spinning intestines was cool, man.
Yes,
I would have liked to have seen more. And if Brian, if you said that already, I was Brian, if you already said that, I was throwing some laundry in the washing machine, so I missed it.
Listen, a peek behind the curtain. I did not say it, but in the last scene, whenever she's looking at that video camera, and kind of showing his journey inside, I wrote, man, I kind of like the found footage aspect of this movie. I wrote that, but I'm just shocked as hell that you feel that way. I'm shocked.
This would make a pretty good found footage film. Not gonna lie, the whole thing.
Yeah, let's end the movie right. I'm gonna clip that scene or clip that sound, and we're gonna play it forever. I'm every one of our found footage films.
Honestly, I would love to see this movie from Anya's camera the entire time. That would be cool. Or I think it was Anya. It may have been Josie, but still, I would love to see it from their camera's perspective. I think it'd be pretty cool.
This movie would be cool, Archive 81 style.
Yeah,
I feel like.
Yep, that's fair. As long as it's not like Cloverfield, we're good. All right, let's go.
Get the fuck. Now we can end the podcast. Now this is bullshit.
All right, let's keep going. That night we see.
Can you hear me from back here? Is this close enough?
Let's keep going. That night we see some of the women watching the perimeter in another flashback. Kane brings her some orange juice and says that he has to leave a day early. He has to leave now instead of spending the day together. He says, I do love you, Lena. I love you too, she says, and he gets up and walks away. Lena wakes up and looks at cells under her microscope. Cass chats with her some, and Lena says she's going to go check on Ventress. Lena sees a light on and finds Ventress on watch. They check out a map, and Ventress says, we should go to this evacuated community tomorrow, then the coast. She asks Ventress why her husband volunteered for a suicide mission. She says, you're confusing suicide with self-destruction. She brings up smoking, drinking. Happy marriage is falling apart. They hear a loud rustling noise. Cass wakes up and heads down to Ventress and Lena. Something came through the fence. Cass is grabbed and tossed by a bear. They chase after her screams, but they can't find her. They yell for her, but no answer. Next morning, Josie says we have to go back. Anya says she's right. We have evidence of the last team going crazy. Ventress says she's getting to the lighthouse with or without them and leaves. Anya snaps on Lena for not giving her backup. She says she agrees that they should go back, but they should go to the coast and follow it to the perimeter wall. Back to interrogation, and Lomax says you lied to them. Ventress had cancer. She was never coming back. Lena admits she wanted to continue. The four women find Cass's boot on the ground. Lena says she could still be alive. Lena goes deeper into the forest amongst these colorful vines, and she sees two deers with cherry blossom antlers. Lena drops her bag and marches more into the woods. She finds a mangled corpse. It's Cass. Lena returns and tells him she found her and she's dead. They continue their journey. They make it to another house, and Ventress says we'll camp here tonight. It's another 2-hour walk and we'll be at the coast. We see these flower-shaped humans, and they've grown this way. Josie says light waves aren't blocked, they're refracted. Signals aren't gone, they're just scrambled. She says that the leaf is human Hox genes. Lena says it's not possible, but it is, Josie says. Animal, plant DNA, all DNA are being altered. They go into the house now, and Ventress says to secure doors and windows. Anya notices her hand and fingerprints are moving around. Lena pricks herself and examines her blood under a microscope. She notices it splits and becomes a weird cell. Back to the sex flashback scene with Dan. She's sitting up and says this was a mistake. He says you spend more time away from your husband than with him. Dan says there's an obvious physical and intellectual connection between us. She brings up his wife, and he says she's blameless in this. He asks what's going on. You think something happened to him? You think he knows about our affair? She says he has found out. You should go, she says. I'm not interested in talking. Get dressed and leave. He says it's not me you hate. You hate yourself. She says she hates him too, and it'll never happen again. All right, go ahead, Brian. No, I do hate you. And get the fuck out.
Before you go, I think I just had a light bulb moment because holy fucking shit. The way he says it at the beginning of this scene, that I do love you, Lena. To me, that is a dead ringer for knowing about the affair right there. To me, that I think he's leaving a day early at his own will. That he knows he's probably not going to come out of that mission. He was already picked for it anyway. But I think there's subtle hints at him volunteering for it because, like she says, he's self-destructing because he knows about this affair. And so that's, you know what, that just clicked for me, and I wanted to say it before I forgot it because it's not in my notes because I did not catch it the first time. It's not said, but I think it's hinted at.
Yeah, and maybe you're right. I think that may be up for interpretation, and that's my problem. Is I kind of wish it wasn't up for interpretation. I wish it was more blunt and out there. Like, yeah, the first time I watched it, the first time I watched it, I took that as like he saw the shimmer, he's fucking worried about going in it. But then the second time I watched it, I took that the same way you just said. Like, well, maybe he does know about the affair. But to me, I just wish it was. That's just me. I wish it was more black and white and less gray. That's all. But maybe this is something that's explained more in the books. But why did they only lose days that first few that they were in there? Like, to me, that seems like something like is very interesting that could have been played with more throughout the movie, where it just bam, days have been gone, and they're trying to even piece together what the fuck's happened in the last few days. They're like, wake up, people be dead or turned to fucking plants or whatever. I don't know. That's something I wish that kind of would have been played with a little bit more, and we never heard about it after the first. I guess when they first walk in, it's just like bam, 4 days are gone or whatever it is, whatever the number was. And this is the line I was talking about earlier, where Venture said that she thought it was a good idea. Lena didn't say anything about Kane being her husband after seeing that video. But again, why? Like, why would the other people look at her and say, your husband went crazy, you will too? I guess I just don't understand why that's a plot point that they keep hammering home. It just, to me, I was like, what? Like, that's not even, I don't know. It doesn't even make sense to me. Like, why would they even think that way? But speaking of lines, Ventress's line about self-destruction, I thought was powerful as hell. I know that plays on the underlying subtext of the story, which again, I just wish was more in the forefront, more recognizable. Be more in my face with what you're trying to say instead of trying to be all shady. I guess that's a way to say it. In no way these girls aren't seeing this damn bear this close to them either. I mean, it's an open field where at least 50 yards around that watchtower, and the bear comes out of fucking nowhere to grab her. And then they run all the way to the fence, passing literally nothing that I could have seen that would have hid the bear. Then immediately Anya is like, let's get the fuck out of here. We have data, footage, everything. And Ventress is like, it makes it less explicable. What? Like, so just fuck any sort of possible analyzation of the data, footage, possible uncovering, literally anything. Like, okay, Ventress. Like, I thought that wasn't great writing, to be honest. Like, at least to me, it's not a good enough convincing argument for me to buy that anybody would buy that argument. Like, just have her fucking say, okay, cool. Well, I want to go to see what's at the fucking lighthouse. I'm going on. That's basically what she said anyway. Why try to shut down an argument about the data? I don't know. To me, that hit me the wrong way. And, this set of scenes to me is where the movie kind of starts to go downhill. Like, I didn't like Lena going to find Shepard by herself and then them shoehorning that into being some sort of issue. I think that was kind of manufactured drama that was unnecessary to me. Beautiful shot though, like you brought up with that flower deer. It did, I will say, it did look like it could be on your grandma's oven mitts, but to me, it was unnecessary. The makeup though was awesome. It like all the effects though. I mean, my God. And I'll let Mike touch on this a little bit more, but that scream from the bear being Shepard's scream was very unsettling. Like, it was creepy as fuck. Like, that was Like, bravo for that. That was a great choice to do that because it's something I've never seen in a movie and something that really like unsettled me. And I don't remember who it was that even said it in the movie. Was like, that was really, I mean, like it really bothered them too. It was, I mean, that was almost a meta moment because I was like thinking the same thing. But last thing I'll say, I did think it was funny when I noticed it the first time, and maybe this would have been better if I would have said it coupled with my talking about Jennifer Jason Leigh summary earlier. But you know what? Fuck it, let's do it live. You notice how everything that she says in this movie, every line almost, she says something, dramatic pause, then says it a different way. Like, she means us, dramatic pause. She's talking about us. Like, she does it in almost every page of her dialogue, which, I mean, you can't unhear it whenever you go back and listen to it. But that's all I have.
Part of me wonders if that dialogue that you mentioned, because I noticed that as well, it's just her brain wires getting kind of scrambled here in the Shimmer, where she's kind of playing like a broken record, or you know, it's like Pete and repeat almost. Not exactly the same thing verbatim, but very similar thoughts.
No, she did it in the interrogation scene.
Oh, okay.
She was like, like, he's dying of organ failure. Dramatic pause. He's dying. Or it's just like
yeah, it is a little strange. Okay. Yeah, so this set of scenes to me ended up being more of a miss than a hit. There's some stuff I like. You know, I like the bear attack on Cass or Shep, whatever you want to call her. I like that. Like, I think it ended up finally somebody died. You know, as far as like, you know, an actual death. But you know, then you get some, you know, you mentioned it, some kind of forced drama between these women that I don't necessarily think it is necessary. But you know, I think that both scenes with the bear, which we're not at the second scene yet, because that's probably the best scene in the film to me. We're at the first bear scene, and I still think it's suspenseful enough. It's very tense. I think, you know, Lena out there with her gun, you know, not really knowing where to shoot. Yeah, it is an open field, and we probably would hope we'd see it. But in the sense of the movie, I get it. Can't see. It's dark. Their brains are all fucked up. Their bodies are all fucked up, you know, and I just kind of think that is what happens. Here's my big problem that I don't think the movie does a good enough job doing. And it is explaining Anya's descent mentally. I think she's losing it. Right here is where that starts, where she starts kind of being snippy with Lena, kind of like, you know, like, just leave me the fuck alone and all this other stuff. She's fucking losing it. You know, she wouldn't even know that the picture was in the necklace, which we're going to get to, if she wasn't like searching people while they slept. So like, they don't do a good job of like explain, like, no, I don't need my hand held like a third grader or anything, but I also would like some kind of simple, just, are you fucking all right? Like, are you losing it? And I know Lena asked her, are you okay? But it's also like, we have to seek that out. We have to recognize, oh, she's losing it. And it starts in this set of scenes right here. I love the scene. I already kind of commented on it. Deer, cherry blossoms, really cool visual. Hard to beat. You said it looked like it belonged on your grandma's oven mitts. That's fucking hilarious. I never thought of that. But yeah, this set of scenes is the only one to me in the first hour of the film that's a little bit of a miss. Now there's some intense stuff, but I just, you know, you mentioned the bear having Chef's voice as the roar, basically gives me the heebie-jeebies. It's unsettling. It's, again, there's that term, alien. It's not, it's human-like, but it's not a human. It's a very strange phenomenon that I'm going to talk about in a little bit. But I think the scene, or this set of scenes, is a little bit of a miss, just because they don't do a good enough job explaining Anya's like sense of madness that she's going through. And I wish they had, because it makes a little more sense why she gives a fuck about if Kane was here prior or not. So I think
100% agree.
So this is the set of scenes that I have the least amount of notes on, just because I kind of think it's setting up probably the best scene in the film.
Definitely. You lying bitch, Anya yells at Lena as she bashes her in the face with the butt of her gun. Anya has tied up the other three women to chairs. She asks, why didn't you tell us he was your husband? Josie says she didn't know. She brings up the two theories and how the first is plausible. She now says she didn't see a bear, only Lena and Ventress did. We know now Lena is a liar. She asks if she killed Cass. Anya tells them her fingerprints are moving and begins to cry. If I let you go and you tie me to a chair and cut me open, are my insides going to move like my fingerprints? She goes to cut Lena, but they hear Cass's voice yelling, "Help me." Anya runs to her with a gun, and the other three fight to get out of their chairs. We see a shadow of a bear walking towards them. Cass cries out for help are coming from the bear. It circles the women, and the bear bites Josie on the shoulder. Anya limps in and shoots the bear. The bear charges, knocking the women over, and mauls Anya to death, biting her bottom jaw off, gnarly as hell. The bear attacks the others now. Josie unloads the clip, shooting the bear in its head, killing it. Ventress is leaving now. She says, "We don't have time. If I don't make it to the lighthouse soon, we won't end it." She walks out the house. Lena and Josie are outside, and Lena says we should go. Josie asks how long was her husband in the shimmer. Theoretically, as long as a year. I'm right about the refractions, aren't I? Lena says yes. She checked her blood, and it's in her. Josie says it was so weird hearing Cass's voice in the bear. We now see Josie's body slowly turning into a plant. Josie walks off, and Lena can't find her. Lomax asks, one by one, all gone except you. How do you explain that? She asks if it's something she needs to explain. We now see Lena and Kane on the couch reading. They both say hey to each other. Lena is crying in the woods, and now she's at the shore. She looks upon the ocean and marches towards the lighthouse. Lena enters the lighthouse and sees a hole where the meteor crashed into the earth. She also sees a charred corpse against the wall with a video camera pointing at it. She plays back the footage and sees someone's POV shot walking the beach and into the lighthouse. We now see Kane, who sits by the wall and says, "I thought I was a man. I had a life. People called me Kane now. Now I'm not so sure. Was I you," he asked, "or you me? My flesh moves like liquid. My mind is cut loose. I can't bear it." He sets off a phosphorus grenade and says, "If you ever get out of here, find Lena." He says, "I will." The grenade detonates, burning him up. Now the cameraman reveals himself as Kane as well. Lena hears Ventress screaming in the hole and descends into it. We now see Ventress, and she asks what they have spoke on. "It's inside me now." She says it's unlike us. "I don't know what it wants. It will grow until it encompasses everything." Annihilation. We see Ventress regurgitate light and energy that looks like the shimmer. Her body grows bright like the sun. Lena sees this cloud of energy in front of her and stares into it. It sucks a few drops of blood from her face into it. We see the blood cells split and mutate. Lena backs away, and we see humanoid version of herself, and Lena opens fire on it to no success. It walks towards her, and Lena runs out the hole, but it's already up there. And the next set of scenes are the ending. Go ahead, Brian.
Okay, so, and again, this piggybacks into what I kind of already said earlier, and Mike touched on a lot in that last set of scenes, but it just plays out a little bit more in this set. But the whole conspiracy theory with the only people who saw the bear were Lena and Ventress, I didn't like that whole thing. I felt like that was Stretch Armstrong type stretch. And if you're going to explain that away with, oh, they're losing their minds, like Mike said, I mean, okay, then play that up more, because in my opinion too, like, they didn't play that up near enough. Shout out to Gina Rodriguez though. I mean, I do think she at least, does a really good job of at least seeming stressed the fuck out while she has them tied up, but it doesn't cross that line enough with it. Like, is she stressed out or is she falling into madness? So I completely agree with that. It was decent tension during that scene though, but maybe let's have her really show that she's lost her mind by by cutting somebody open at least before hearing that crazy ass shepherd scream, which I brought it up a scene too early. Like I said, the last set of scenes, bravo. I mean, that was creepy as fuck. Worst death of the movie alert. Josie turns into a fucking tree, and we don't even get to see it done. Like, oh, I'm sorry, we spent the effects budget on the icebreakers fucking flavor crystals that are outside the lighthouse, so no need to see her turn into Groot. I mean, it's just, look, another positive note though, cutting from Lena telling the story, to a memory of her and Kane, and that damn like fucking amazing Crosby, Stills, Nash song again, and then it cut again to her emotionally just drained and devastated out in this fucking utopia of wilderness rainbows. I thought that was emotional as hell. And you know what? I mean, even up to this point, I have complained a lot, but this movie had me. It still has me to where I'm like, what the fuck is going on with this movie? Like, but I'm interested. I'm still sucked in. The disappointing thing is we can find out what's going on in the movie. That's the disappointing part. But all right, so why did Kane decide to blow himself up with the alien Kane, I guess, recording it? Like, did it force him to? Did he just lose his mind too much? He didn't seem too crazy during that scene. I will say, real world though, like we haven't talked about how Oscar Isaac's accent jumps so much all over the place, everywhere in this movie. I don't know if you noticed it, but it went from like normal American earlier to like super Southern here at this point. But there's so much here. This part, especially down here in the hole, that reminds me of the movie Alien. The wall decoration. I expected an alien to pop out of her chest, but then we get Ventress, get Thanos dusted. At least it showed it on screen. I will say it looked very good with the effects. We also get the all-seeing eye Sauron thing from Lord of the Rings with this pulsating weird sound effect that honestly aggravated me, I think, more than been interested or terrified me. Then we get Dr. Octopus alien. I don't know if you got noticed, but I've literally said so many nerdy things, and I've had this whole paragraph because Nico called me a nerd last week. So I thought I would try to put as much in there as I possibly could there. But regardless, to me, we are off the rails at this point, and not in a good way to me.
I still think this set of scenes has the best scene in the entire film, and that is this quote unquote bear attack or bear tense scene or whatever the fuck.
I would agree with that.
To me, it's the most horror-like thing in the entire film as far as your standard in a box stereotypical horror film. That this is what's played here. For one, you get a bear that is just sniffing around them while they're tied up, and the reason they're tied up, just to kind of jump back for a second, I don't like the stuff with Anya. I kind of wish it had been explained away a little more. That being said, they're all tied up, which is a consequence of Anya losing it. So this bear could literally rip them from limb to limb at any second, and there's nothing they can do about it because dumbass over there tied everyone up for no fucking reason. But I think it's just such an intense scene. I think it's shot really well. I love the visuals of this bear. I think it's some of the CGI that's pretty good. It's like a skull face, and when it opens its mouth, it's Shep's voice, and it's just so unsettling. The whole scene is just intense. You're like, what the fuck? The entire time. I love it. I really, really cannot say enough positives about that particular scene. I think it's really, really good.
Hold on, Mike, when you said it opens up, I almost sounded like you said Chef's voice, and so then it made me think of Chef from South Park.
Suck on my chocolate salted balls. Yeah. Hello there.
The bear would have been so much better.
Could you imagine if that bear opened up his mouth and said, "Hello there, children"? Okay. Anyway. Hey, Chef. All right. So I'll just say, I'm with you though. Can we see her turn into a fucking tree? If we're going to go there, I love that. By the way, also visually unsettling, creepy to see the veins in the back of her arms as she starts to walk away. It's so creepy and gives me the heebie-jeebies, man. But we don't see it. I wanted to see the final form, final transformation. I think it would have been really cool because I think the idea of these plant people is really interesting and weird, and they didn't quite explain it for my dumbass to get it, but I kind of understand the whole refraction thing. I'm not some science expert. I'm somebody who takes care of grounds by mowing and weed eating, and I do personal training. I don't understand refraction of DNA, but I will say that I think it's an interesting concept on its face, and I wanted to see the final form. That would have been cool as fuck because it kind of explains a little bit more why these plants look like this. I think they thought that it was like the plants grew this way, but I think the more I think about it, I took it as these were people that turned into plants. And I think that's almost more interesting than the other way around. But okay, so Then you get the stuff at the lighthouse. First of all, I think the beach looks cool. It's like, crystal towers and all that stuff. So very cool visuals. Again, this movie just has those. Like, I'm going to say that every time I notice it because there's some really interesting shit here. And there's a couple more in this set of scene. She sees the video of Kane. I think I kind of knew deep down that the Kane that she got back home wasn't the real one or wasn't the right thing. Like, you kind of knew it deep down, but this video explains why he was acting so weird and acting so different. So I do appreciate it for being here. And at least, in a little bit, we get explaining how they ended up with another Kane. Like, I think that's also explained away right here because she gets her own body double, which I'm going to talk about in a second. But I think that's interesting. The visuals of the aftermath, I think, is really good. You get the meteor hole, you get Ventress, who has this like exploding shimmer mouth thing that again looks really fucking cool. I don't know what's going on. I don't have a clue what's going on, but I think it looks really cool. And this, cloud energy DNA alien thing, but it just kind of makes these like weird noises, and it's interesting. At least, again, I'm with you though, Brian. It's not explained well enough for me and my remedial brain to understand exactly what I'm looking at. Like what? But at the point though, I'm still intrigued by it. So it's not a total negative for me because I'm still like, what the fuck am I watching? Like, I've enjoyed the movie up to this point, and I kind of want to know what I'm looking at here. And it makes me a little frustrated that I don't quite get it. And maybe that's my fault. But again, we talked about at the beginning, man, if I have to write a research paper on your movie, that's a you problem, not a me problem. I'm just being honest.
We're over here. We can't even spell DNA. God almighty.
Okay. One last thing. This humanoid that we get out of that. There's a phenomenon called uncanny valley, and I've kind of touched on it a little bit here. It's the fact that in our human DNA, when we see something that looks human, but we know isn't in our brain, we freak out over that. We don't like that as human beings. We have a visceral reaction to that naturally. It's not something that we can even really help. Now, we don't always have it, but even to the point where you see, like a robot that looks human, like that creeps us out. You get this situation. As soon as she turned into a humanoid, I was immediately wigged out. Like, not on purpose, but I was like, I can't remember the name of what that is, but I went and looked it up, and I was like, oh yeah, that makes so much sense. It looks human, but it isn't human, and it's just close enough where it's mimic, and then it goes on to mimic her, which is even more creepy to me. So I'm like, I was very uneasy during that scene. But again, it's not all positive, but I am willing to give some of it a pass because I enjoyed the rest of the film. But up to this point, and I know we're about to get into the very end, but to me, I almost you could have ended it with the burning of the building after the fight that we're about to get into, and that would have been fine with me. So anyway, let's get into that. But I'll say mixed bag, but I still think this has the best scene in the entire film, and that's the stuff with the bear.
All right, here's the ending, guys. Lena moves, and the humanoid version echoes her movements. Lena is punched and knocked unconscious. The humanoid lies down beside her and chases her to the door, slamming her and the door shut. Lena gasps for air as she's pressed into the door. Lena and the humanoid fall back to the ground. Sometime later, and Lena wakes up again, both versions making the same movements. Lena and the humanoid have a standoff, and Lena backs to Kane's bag and grabs another phosphorus grenade and hands it to the humanoid. She places its other hand on the grenade, and we see the humanoid looking more and more like Lena. She pulls the pin and takes off running. It blows up in the humanoid Lena's hands. The fire begins to try and mutate as the humanoid's hands and body catch fire. It touches Kane's corpse and ignites it, and she ignites the lighthouse on fire. The humanoid goes into the hole as we see Lena watch the lighthouse burn up in flames. All the crystal-looking trees are set ablaze as well. Back to interrogation, and Lomax says, so it was an alien. Can you describe its form? She says no. Was it carbon-based? She doesn't know. What did it want? I don't think it wanted anything. It mirrored me. He says it came here for some reason. It was destroying our environment. She says it wasn't destroying anything, just making it different. He says a team made it to the lighthouse and it's all ash now. What you encountered is dead. She takes a sip of water and we see the water drops mutating as well. She asks about her husband. Lomax says when the shimmer disappeared, his blood pressure stabilized and his pulse picked up. He's still in isolation. Lena is taken to an awakened Kane and she enters his isolation tent. She says, "You aren't Kane, are you?" He says, "I don't think so." "Are you Lena?" he asks. He stands up and hugs her. We see his and her eyes with a glow to them, and the film ends. All right, Brian, what do you think about the ending? I think I know how you felt about it.
Yeah. All right, look. I mean, look, I get the whole breaking down thing, the whole mirroring DNA thing, the whole self-destruction subtext, the whole trying to present the shimmer as like a metaphor for cancer, like we talked about. And not just that, like Lena's affair being a quote cancer in her marriage, Ventress's actual cancer being a metaphor for actual cancer. I get all that. But listen, just hear me out, Alex Garland. You're doing too much. I mean, but like now look, as much shit as I talk about the end here, there's one particular part that I'd like to call attention to that is straight up like brilliant. Just it's legit. It's when the alien has her pinned up against that wall, giving her a little like Lance Stevenson, LeBron James ear whisper there. That shit was, I mean, look, I don't know if tense was the right word, but it made me feel claustrophobic as hell. Just experiencing that with her, like, great job. Just bravo to Garland on the way that was shot. And again, props to Portman on her carrying this entire fucking scene. Everything about it. The close-ups, the gasps for the air. Actually, you know what this reminded me of, and this may age me here some. It's like those early 90s like stupid ass trends that kids did in elementary school where you take the eraser, you would erase your hand or until it like made a scar, just stupid shit like that. But when you were kids, I don't know, you guys are way younger than me, but there was this early trend in the 90s where it was like you were out with your friends outside and you would take these deep breaths and then you held it in and you crossed your arms over your chest and then someone like pressed you up against something and like until they passed out. But you didn't know if they like really passed out or they were faking it like Ouija board style. I don't know. Anyway, that's what this whole thing reminded me of. But anyway, besides the visionary wonder that we fucking get here, I think the ending stinks. I think all the way to the realization that even though it's the real Natalie Portman, she's changed now. Like she's an alien thing too, which hell, I mean, maybe that's not even right either. I mean, fuck it. Like it's just frustrating ending for me. That's all. Go ahead.
Yeah, the ending is frustrating in the sense that it's confusing. Too confusing. It doesn't leave me with enough evidence to quite get it. I used Shutter Island as a really good example of how you can leave a little bit of a confusion or like a question mark at the end of your movie, but still give me something to sink my teeth into and to try to understand exactly what took place in the last 2 hours that we watched. That movie hits it, and to me, this movie doesn't. And again, maybe we are big dum-dums, and I will fully admit that, and we just missed the mark, and that's okay. And again, I know what the overarching themes of this movie are. You got cancer, you got the environment, specifically the environment, how it's always changing, it's ever changing, global warming, all of that stuff. Got that? Not totally understand all that. But some of the small minutia, I don't think it lands. I don't think it does a good enough job wrapping up the story within that. And I don't like it. I wish this movie had ended just straight up on setting the lighthouse on fire, which is hilarious because what I said when the movie was over, the first time I watched it was, well, why didn't they just try to set that thing on fire I would have burned that state park to the ground before I sent a single person inside. Not going to lie. I know we're curious as human beings, but nope. As soon as I see some weird bubbly thing, I'm burning that son of a bitch to the ground. But that's just me. That's no fun. I get it. But I definitely would have ended it right at the fire because then you get this, you get the end of the interrogation scene and which again I know it's kind of a narrative plot point to kind of have her come back to the present day, but I'm not sure those scenes are necessary either. You know, they don't follow up. She doesn't get in any kind of trouble. You know, nothing really comes of it. Like I kind of wish it wasn't there, but it's well acted, tremendously acted by both people. Like, I think it's great. And then you get the final thing with her and Kane, or not Kane, or whatever, Imposter Kane, as they called him in the WWE. Oh, sorry, that's not Glenn Jacobs. Sorry. Anyway, but you get Imposter Kane here, and it's they don't do a good enough job of explaining why both of their eyes look the way they do. Obviously, she's changed from her experience in the Shimmer, which makes sense, but we don't know how much. Is she the real one? Is she not the real? Like, what exactly am I looking at? And so I do think when a movie just leaves me so bumfuzzled by what it's trying to say, I have to knock it down a peg. And it's unfortunate because I do think this movie has so much good. I think the first hour and 8 minutes is really, really solid. I think it has a lot of good scares, a lot of tense scenes. I think the acting is tremendous. The visuals are great. I know I got complaints online about this, but the cinematography is absolutely awesome. So I'm going to say that word till the day I die, because sometimes there's just no other word for it. If anyone has a synonym for cinematography, please at SettleMLCFB on Twitter. But let me know what the synonym is. Sorry. Hey.
Any more final thoughts before we jump into our social media comments and questions?
No.
All right. Let's do Twitter first. We don't have much there. Speaking of Sean Irwin, he commented, "You mean less good Color Out of Space?" LOL.
No. Boo this man. Color Out of Space was doo-doo.
All right. Kevin Scanlon just commented, "I still haven't seen this movie, so I guess it's time to watch it." If anybody who listens to this, it's streaming on Paramount Plus. So if you have Paramount Plus, go check it out. I mean, if you like sci-fi, you might like this movie. So go check it out. Let's jump into Instagram now. We got quite a bit of comments. Real Matt Sear says, "Really looking forward to hearing your thoughts on this one. I love Garland's first film, Ex Machina, whatever. I can't correct my pronunciation. I'm wrong.
Machina.
Machina. Hey, Machina. Thought it was a masterpiece. Even loved movies he had written but not directed, like The Beach, 28 Days Later, and Sunshine. When I read the premise for this film, where a biologist signs up for a dangerous secret expedition into a mysterious zone where the laws of nature don't apply, and heard he was directing it, I couldn't have been more pumped for it. Took my dad to see it in the theater. When we walked out, I turned to my dad and said, 'I'm sorry. I don't know what the hell we just watched. Either this movie is bad or it's a classic case of me hyping myself up to see a film only to be let down. Great cast, great visuals, and creepy score, but the movie is just terrible to me. It's so fucking weird. Near the end, most of all. Maybe I'd feel different after a rewatch, but I can't bring myself to do it. Thumbs down.'" Hey, that's your opinion, brother. I feel you. Martin68 commented, he's complete opposite of Matt. "Love this movie. Amazing cast. Visually stunning. Super creepy. The bear scene still terrifies me." Bear scene is awesome. Whorehead Heather85 commented, "Great sci-fi pick. Have only seen it once. We'll have to revisit. I remember loving it, though." DGAM, my boy Jeff from back in Valdosta, "This is underrated." So he's a big fan of this one. J-Man5765 said, "I couldn't finish this one. Curious to see your thoughts on it." And the last comments we got are from a big friend of the show, the Black Han Solo. "The skeleton bear scene is pure fucking nightmare fuel. That's one thing I wish this movie had more of, is the mutated animal life attacking. Like when they found the gator with shark teeth. OMG, give me more of that. Like, imagine the scene from The Revenant, but with Skeletor Yogi from this film. But all in all, I still enjoyed the film. Dope cast. I always forget Oscar Moon Knight Isaac is in this film. Can't wait to see what you guys think of this one." Then he followed up saying, "And all that mutated animal talk's got me thinking, are you guys ever going to do a Nature Attacks month? Doing movies like Deep Blue Sea, Lake Placid, Ghost in the Darkness, Uncaged, etc." And I told him, hell yeah, we definitely need to do another creature feature month, because I think Deep Blue Sea and Lake Placid, all that would be fun to do.
I like the name Nature Attacks Month. I like
Can't
that.
wait. Yeah. Can't wait. Super stoked for it.
Mike hates cars and nature.
and Sci-Fi.
Organic Mike hates nature.
I
Here we
love
go.
nature, not cars though. Fuck cars.
All right, that's all. That's all we got for social media. You want to jump into fun facts in the budget?
Yeah, I only have 2 fun facts. I'll go ahead and do them. I have 3 of them. 2 of them are I picked super nerd ones just for you, Nico. But Oscar Isaac and Natalie Portman were both in Star Wars movies. Oscar Isaac was in the Star Wars sequel trilogy. Portman was in the prequel trilogy. You know what that is? No, never mind. We're moving on.
Fucking nerd.
Not even done yet. Natalie Portman, Tessa Thompson, and Benedict Wong all in the MCU. Portman was in Thor movies. Thompson's in the Thor movies and Avengers, and Wong's in Doctor Strange. So just throwing all that out there. Fucking nerds. Anyway. The last thing I'll say, and this interested me because I either I missed it in the movie the 3 times that I watched it, or else I'm an idiot or whatever else, they didn't show enough. The snake tattoo that appears on Lena's forearm is not there before she enters the shimmer. It also appears on the arm of Anya, as well as on the body of the soldier that was killed on the wall in the building that they enter. The tattoo is a symbol of a snake eating itself, which ties into the film's theme of self-destruction. Why the fuck don't you play that up enough in this movie? Like, to me, I missed that entire thing. I had no idea. Had to read a fun fact to even figure it out.
All right, I only got one fun fact, and I've kind of already mentioned it a little bit. But it says, due to a poorly received test screening, David Ellison, a financier at Paramount, became concerned that the film was, in quotes, too intellectual and too complicated, and demanded changes to make it appeal to a wider audience, including making Natalie Portman's character more sympathetic and changing the ending. Producer Scott Rudin sided with Garland in his desire to not alter the film, defending the film and refusing to take notes. Rudin had final cut. For the first time in history, I might be on the studio side.
I agree.
Go ahead, brother Mike.
I'm glad Brian's done with all this nerdinese. All right. So, I'm sorry. I said that out loud. Shit, I thought that was just inside my head. Must be in the shimmer. Okay.
What a bully.
Yeah, I know. Bully. Hey, asshole, bullying works. All right. So anyway, this budget, it goes back and forth. It's between $40 and $55 million, depending on, who your source, but it's in that ballpark there. This movie made $43.1 million. That's all gross. That's all box office, national and international.
But that fact that Nico just read, didn't they basically strike the deal with Netflix because of this whole feud going back and forth? So I didn't even know it got a theatrical release.
Oh yeah, I saw it in theaters.
Netflix. Okay, so
yeah,
all right. Well, so do you think that it got a short run because of the whole feud, and they threw it to Netflix to not lose that much money? Because who knows how much Netflix paid for it?
That I don't know. What I would guess is that maybe they it's what I would guess is kind of what you said, but also maybe they were like, hey, this movie's not doing well, Netflix, you want in on this action, and tried to make a little bit, try to recoup a little bit of their money back by selling the rights off to Netflix.
Yeah.
I can totally see that. Okay, but yeah, this movie made $43.1 million nationally and internationally. That's a combined box office. That's not good. It tanked at the box office. There's a lot of articles about it. I do think this movie deserves to be seen. I don't know if it should have completely bombed the way it did, but there wasn't a lot of hype around it. I remember it at the time coming out, and I think I went and saw it on a whim. I don't think I was super hyped about it. But I did go and see it in the theater, and it was a cool, the visuals were really cool in the theater. Very creepy, very, very good experience. But, yeah, I think maybe this movie did a little too much for the non-casual moviegoer. And that's unfortunate because, me, I'm against Brian and Dustin on this stuff. All the big IPs, the superheroes, the Star Wars. That's not for me. That's not the kind of movie that I like. But it's the ones that brings in the monies, so I have a hard time arguing against it.
All righty, let's jump into our favorite kill, least favorite kill in the rating. Anybody want to go first? Or y'all want me to kick it off?
Go ahead, man.
All right, I'll kick us off. Favorite kill? I chose Anya killed by the bear because I'm pretty sure that one might be unanimous. That kill was awesome. Scene was awesome. Least favorite or worst kill? I chose Josie turning into a damn flower and you don't see it. I was lame. I'm basically just going to repeat what I've said already throughout this podcast. Short and sweet. I'm not a big fan of this movie or this style of movie. I'm not going to say what I wrote next just because I don't think Brian can handle it. But it has good acting and it looks good, but I do feel like it's too technical and not fun and enjoyable enough, too long and not enough action. Side plot of the cheating is irrelevant, but it's not like nothing game changing or nothing like that. Overall, the movie, I think we've done a good job discussing things we could do to make it better, but I gave this movie the same as I gave Starship Troopers. I gave it a 3 out of 10.
Mine's gonna be short and sweet. I have the exact same favorite and least favorite kill. Like I said, I really like I really like the movie. The ending makes the beginning of the movie harder to watch. If I knew the ending was what I at least wanted it to be, or what I thought was better, then the beginning, the parts would have been even better. I think this movie was a solid 8 until the last bit that I hated. It knocked it down so much. I'm going to give a movie a 5.75.
Yeah, look, this movie's a mixed bag. It has a lot of positives. For me, I like the film. I don't think the ending weighs it down so much to where I can sit here and say with a straight face I don't like it. I'm still intrigued by it. I'm not going to lie. At some point tomorrow, I'll probably listen to some ending explained podcast about it or, whatever, just because I'm really interested in it. But this movie does have, I've gone through the stuff I don't like. I think it's a little confusing. There's some unnecessary plot lines throughout, but there's some really good stuff here, man. I think the music is good. The acting is good. The visuals are stunning. They're beautiful. They're awesome. They're cool. They're creepy. Very unsettling. That's one positive to me about the movie is I never feel like I'm settled. I just feel kind of blah throughout the whole movie in a good way. It gives me that visceral feeling for an hour and 55 minutes. I like that about the film. And I do think as far as sci-fi goes, this is more my kind of sci-fi than intergalactic space travel. No offense to anybody. This is just what I'm a fan of if I'm going to pick something. But that being said, it's obviously not a perfect movie. I've said all the things I have. So I think my favorite kill is Anya and the bear. Obviously, I think that's one. It's the best scene in the film and it's the best kill in the film. I'm right there with Nico. Least favorite kill is Josie not getting to turn into a plant on screen. What the fuck are we doing? That would have been so cool. Damn it, man. Why do we have time for deer with cherry blossom antlers, but not her turning into Groot? I don't understand it. Makes no sense. Make it make sense, everyone. Okay. Anyway.
That was a nerd reference. Sorry, that was a nerd reference.
Hey. Yeah, you're right. Okay, so look, I make a lot of wrestling references. I can say shit on this show. And I made a Titanic reference earlier, so that should really let you know where I'm at with my nerdom. All that being, I'm a historian. All that being said, I gave this movie a 6.75. Thought the film was pretty solid, just didn't stick the landing. The last 30 minutes are damn near skippable to me, honestly.
Yeah.
All right, our composite score with us three is a 5.17, and IMDb gave it a 6.8 with 311,697 reviews.
This has a lot of Cloverfield vibes to me. This has a lot of 300,000 votes, and it's over a 7. It feels like the same thing here.
All right, let's shout out our blood donors and get out of here.
Hey, Brian. I am the smartest man alive. Sorry, I didn't mean to get so close to the mic. Should I bring it down here and whisper? I gave this movie a 6.75.
Wow, that's awkward.
Call me sometime. Oh shoot, I retired.
Oh, you did it. Central.
Hey, you said this is the last episode, so you got to get out your system, brother.
That's right, Natalie Portman. If you're listening, call me sometime, please. Call me sometime.
All right, any more final thoughts on Annihilation before we shout out our blood donors and get out of here? All right, at the beginning of the show, I forgot to mention our blood donors, Patreon. The It's just we have two different kinds, reoccurring and a one-time donation. It really helps us pay the bills,
Yes.
make a good podcast, decent sounding podcast. So we really appreciate all support. I don't think we can express to y'all how much we really appreciate all of our fans, but we're going to shout out our blood donors now. Our camper level reoccurring: Clayton J, Nina, Michelle Mirza, Andrew Ferguson, Carrie Adams, the Horror Movie Crew podcast, Alex Seligson, Eric Doolittle, and Sean Irwin. Our camp counselor reoccurring are Hunter Nelson, Dennis Kennedy, Edwin Hernandez Gunn, Joe Swinford, Jennifer Davis from the Too Close to Home podcast, Karen and Heather Smith. We really appreciate y'all. A legendary blood donor we still have a film review to do for is Sarah Irwin, which we'll be doing this week. And our Dream Warrior donor, a new one, is David Farley. We just want to say thank y'all for your financial support. It really helps us out. Takes a big burden off of us, and honestly, we really thank you a lot because, I understand economic times are tough right now. So thank you for your
Thank
support.
you, guys.
It means a lot to us.
Absolutely. And Sarah Irwin, I want to know why you personally attacked me. That's I really
Oh my God.
I didn't do anything to you. It's probably you that said I talked too close to the mic. Here, I'll bring it way back here. If you pick a different movie, I'll just
I've already done those for it now. We're doing it now, brother.
Motherfucker.
Yeah,
Anywho,
stay tuned.
Yeah, man. Wow.
Here's a warning. I may scream into the mic in the next episode.
Brian's going to have to produce the fuck out of that episode.
Oh man,
That's me every episode. Go on, brother.
Anywho, any final thoughts on Annihilation?
No, man. I enjoyed talking about it. It felt good to get back in here, do something a little different. Although I'm not gonna lie, I kind of miss your standard slasher. So as soon as this month is over,
Hey, our next couple theme months are going to
kidding.
be slap full of some slashers. So
I'm excited to talk about your pick next week, Nico. Let's do it.
speaking of that, I'll go ahead and shout it out. I can't remember what year it's from, and I'm not going to look it up right now. Y'all can do that. Do some research yourself. But anywho, next week is my pick. We're going to be doing Donnie Darko. I think it's an interesting movie. It's got a really high rating on IMDb, so I want to see if Brian keeps that same energy next week with the Cloverfield stuff. This is another movie I feel like you could either love or hate, honestly. So I'm looking forward to reviewing it and breaking it down. Anywho, thank you to all of our fans. Really appreciate it. I'm going to shout it out one more time. Follow us on social media for real. We've been doing a lot of giveaways recently. Tumblers, books, all kinds of stuff. So definitely check us out. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. We just hit over 600 subscribers on YouTube. That's awesome. Hopefully we get to 1,000 by the end of the year. That's kind of the goal for me, so I hope we can do that. Just want to thank all our fans. We really appreciate y'all. Y'all have a good one. Just want to remind everybody,